This week we are working with systems of equations, solving them. Last week we did by graphing, and X marks the spot, and your answer could have been a point like over 2, up 3. And your answer still always is a point as an X and a Y, and we're still going to stick with that concept. But now we have two problems here, and let me see if you remember what to do with these kinds of problems. Again, everything I'm teaching you, or everything I'm going over, I should say, we've already done. So if I'm looking at systems of elimination, here we go. Let's take a look here at this first problem. And if you remember, we're supposed to put a line here underneath. If they're both, are they in order with X, Y here, and then your constants, everything's good to go. So I'm going to erase this and we're going to go here, and we're going to call it, basically we're adding down. And this is solving systems by elimination, and we're trying to eliminate a variable. And if you see right away, 0 or -4 and +4, 0x, and that's what we're looking for. We're trying to find the 0 variable here. And then if I do this one, that's plus 6y, okay? Positive 6y, and then -12 and -24. When you add those together, you're going to get a -36. Now you're at this point, that's great. You're good to go. This cancels out. You basically have a 0, so you don't even pay attention to that. Now you have 6y equals -36, and you want to isolate the y. You want to get y all by itself, so we're going to divide 6 to both sides. You're going to get y equals -6. All right? And that's an easy, this is not too tough. That was an easy part of the problem, but this is only half of the answer. This is where it gets a little tricky. So your final answer will always be an x and a y. And what did we just find out? We just found out that y is -6. But how do we figure out what the x is? And if you remember this one, hopefully we can jog your memory a little bit. Erase all this stuff. What are we going to do with this y? We know what y is. So when I write out this equation again, I'm going to rewrite the first equation again. -4x minus 2. And what did I leave out? What did I leave out in this problem? The y, because I don't need to put it as a y anymore because I know what it equals. It equals -6. So I'm going to plug that -6 right in there. And as I do that, I'm going to get -4x. And then -2 times -6 is +12 equals -12. And what do I do? We're going to now solve for x. Letters to the left are all good. Let's move our constants to the right. -12 here. This is canceled out. I have -4x equals -24. Okay. And then divide -4 into both. And -4 into 24 goes into it +6 times. Okay. 4 into 24, right? We're good? Yeah, 6. And then your final answer is 6, -6. Just like when we were graphing and these 2 points connected, if you graph these 2 lines, you can graph these. If you graphed them, they would connect at over 6, down 6. Okay. All right, that was the first step of this. Now, or the first problem. Let's do the next one over here. Why don't you go ahead and write this in your notebook and try to complete it on your own first, and then let's check our work, okay? As you work, you get 0x here. Then you get plus 10y, and then you get -10. If you have 10y equals -10, you divide 10. Y equals -1. Okay. If your y equals -1, again, we're going to plug in our x and our y. It just so happened this time that we solved for the y on both of these. Y was -1. I'm going to write that up there. Where do I put that -1? I'm going to rewrite the top equation again. 4x plus 8y equals 20. But again, what am I going to erase? The y, because I know the y is -1. So now I have 4x minus 8 equals 20. I add 8, I get 4x equals 28. Divide 4, x equals 7. And that would be your final answer, 7, -1. I hope that this kind of brought a little bit of these skills back into your brain. There is a next level that we're going to go into in just a second. It's not too difficult. You can totally handle it. I'm not going to give you too much today. Okay, so now when I look at a problem like this, I want your brain, your thinking cap to go on. If we're going to add these down, I would get, what, 15x and 4y and 54. If I was just to add those down, do I have a 0x or a 0y? So then this doesn't work. I have to change the problem a little bit. The way I talked about it in class, this is straight from right before winter break. I talked about giving the problem a makeover. You're going to give this one of these equations a makeover. You're going to change it, and you're going to try to get to it, change it so it can become 0y or 0x. I kind of gave it away. When you look at this, isn't this really close to being able to become 0y? Would one of those twos have to become a negative? Okay, so you can totally handle this, but the makeover part is what's confusing. And I'm going to put these little parentheses around it because what you can do in algebra is you can multiply that whole equation every term. How many terms are in this equation? 1, 2, 3. You can multiply all the terms and change the problem and still use it and get the right answer. And I'm going to multiply it. How can I make this 2 a -2? I'm going to multiply it by -1. Okay. And as I do that, I literally do a triple jump in here, triple distributive property. I multiply every term, so it becomes -8x, -2y, -30. Okay, and all of that's now been changed. Right? And I almost want to take this. I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna get crazy here. And I'm just gonna cross all this out. This problem doesn't exist anymore. And usually when I solve these two, I would cross this out. That problem doesn't exist anymore. We're able to now use this one underneath, and it's super clean now when we want to solve it. Okay, so now we add down +7 and -8. Give me a -1x. Could I just write -x? For sure. But I want you guys sometimes to realize that is a -1. Don't forget that. Is this going to be 0y? And is that what we're looking for? Yeah. And now I have -30 and +24. That's going to be -6. All right. And you should know this cancels out. We don't have that anymore. 0y is gone. That's why we call it elimination. We eliminated it. And I have -1x equals -6. Think about this idea. What times -1 is going to equal -6? And we're going to do the math the way we know. We're going to divide -1 to both sides. -1 and -6. You did that division. +6. Okay? All right, now that we know that's a +6, can we figure out what y will be? And we can. I'm going to delete everything here. We're only going to use this first part. And remember, x was 6. Okay? So now that we know x, we're going to plug in x. So we're going to go 7, not x, but 6 plus 2y equals 24. Okay, we're going to use that top equation, and now I'm going to go ahead and solve it. I'm going to go ahead and go 7 times 6, which is 42, plus 2y equals 24. Okay. Go ahead and subtract 42, constants to the right. And now you're going to have 2y, and is that going to be 34? It's going to be 18, -18. Divide that by 2, and y equals -9. Okay? And how would you write that as a coordinate? 6. All right? And that's your answer. So do the best you can. I'm going to send you some review stuff to do after this part, but watch these videos, guys. Get the help you need. This is all going to help you in high school. All right? I know you keep me hearing that, but it's going to for sure.